Hey everyone, Life Coach Carisa here. I have a question for you. Do you ever constantly hear words in your mind that were never truly yours? Things that could sound like you're too sensitive, you need to toughen up, you're not good enough. Unspoken messages like these are often ingrained in us since childhood, and they can silently shape who we become. And so this month, I've been diving deep into motherhood and family dynamics, and today I am tackling the daughter wound, healing the weight of generational expectations. We are going to uncover how these unspoken family rules impact how we show up in life and how to break free from that relentless need for approval. So stick around with me because it is time that you learn to reclaim your authentic self. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me again. This month, our theme has been all about motherhood and family dynamics, and today's video is titled The Daughter Wound, Healing the Weight of Generational Expectations. Sounds like a really big topic, but I'm going to break it down for you, right? I'm going to share some personal stories and ways that you can understand this on a easy foundational level. So I want to start with asking you, what are those words that echo in your mind daily? Words that were never truly yours. Things like you are too sensitive, you are too emotional, you need to toughen up, you're not working to your full potential, you could do better, you have more to give, you'll never be good enough, you always act like this. What are yours, right? What are those internal scripts that weren't yours to begin with, and yet you carry them around as if they are your truth? So think about that. What are yours, right? Maybe your parents wanted you to act a certain way, look a certain way, or show up in a certain way. But is that truly your choice now? Or just something that became so ingrained in you from those who cared for you? Because whether you like it or not, we were often given labels or descriptions, and they really became a part of our identity. But no one ever told us to stop. No one ever said to stop and decide if those are truly how you feel now as a grown woman navigating your own authentic life, right? This, my friends, is often where the daughter wound begins. It's this unseen influence, these unspoken family rules. We often receive what feel like statements of truth from our parents and caregivers, and those words become our truth. But the reality is, their truth is only as healthy and positive as their mindset was at the time. So I know we all have something in our families, right? But if you look back at your parents or caregivers, how healthy and how positive was their mindset, right? Consider what all they were going through and what they were dealing with, right? It's only shaped by their experiences. And that made a big influence on how you saw yourself at the time. So, consider this. You may have been told that the only way to be successful and happy is to grind and work extremely hard, right? This can be true. But what can also be true is that you could find something you are deeply passionate about in life, and it will never feel like a hard day of work in your life, right? But that may not have been a perspective that a parent or caregiver was able to give to you because they didn't see that, right? And, in relationships, what if you witnessed a controlling father who always had to be right and really did not have a healthy way of communicating? Then we might enter into our own relationships with these skewed views of what healthy communication looks like. And we might come across as hard or overbearing because we desperately feel like we will never be heard, right? Or maybe even in terms of your own self-worth, we might have been impacted to believe that we must earn our worth, when the truth is we are all born 100% worthy, and that never changes regardless of what we do. And so unspoken rules like this can contribute directly to a daughter wound, that deep feeling of carrying the weight of generational expectations. The love and inner strength that we have for ourselves is often shaped by our parents who had the most impact on us. I recognize that I had a mother who lost her own sense of self. And so, therefore, I know that I struggled to find my own. I felt like I was carrying the negative interactions of both my mother and my father because I felt them so deeply. My father would even at times lay his marital issues out in front of me. And I felt like I had the weight of solving their unhealthy marriage on my shoulders as a teenager and a young woman. And so, you know, um, The other thing that we fall into is that we have this relentless need for approval, right? Doing it right. Why do so many of us, particularly daughters, feel this relentless need to seek approval or constantly strive to do it right according to these unspoken rules? And I think it's because I see patterns where mothers and women and families are often the caregivers, the ones who set the tone. And if things are difficult, we try to be the positivity and the balance. And if things are not going well, we try to solve it for everyone because we believe we'll feel better if we can solve everyone else's emotions. And so there are some societal norms that suggest women have something to do with all of this because we do these things day in and day out because they have to be done, and we don't necessarily recognize what we're doing or get the recognition for it. But sometimes, if we maybe feel like we dropped the ball on something, man, do we really beat ourselves up? And that could come out from someone that cares about us too, right? And we might really take that on as something really deeply negative. And I think because we do feel things so emotionally as women and as caregivers and nurturers, when we're told we didn't do something well, it cuts really deep and impacts us on a profound level. And I think that's just because we're such naturally caring and feeling individuals, right? And so for me, so much of being a good person was tied to output and accomplishment. So when I was doing well and acting well, I felt actually more love from my father. If I wasn't doing well, I felt like that connection was turned off or paused. And so I began to have this very rigid thinking of like, I'm either good or bad, right or wrong. I didn't see the gray areas, right? And if I'm doing things right, I should be loved. And I never really felt loved just for who I was, all my flaws and all. So I really recognized that as I grew up and had my own children, I was doing this with my son, right? My love for him at times felt conditional. If he was doing well, then I would really feel this strong love connection with him. And when he wasn't doing well, sometimes I would want to suppress that, right? I would hold back that love as somewhat of like a punishment for him not doing well. And I'm telling you, this was not something that I consciously chose to do. It was definitely something that I had inherited, I had witnessed, and I was repeating it. So again, what is this all about? It's being able to recognize those patterns, right? And then recognizing where they came from. I think that there is this cost to conformity, the real cost of living these unspoken rules and constantly seeking external approval is immense. It's impossible to have true joy and self acceptance if we are perpetually seeking someone else's validation. And we really are living a life trying to put on a show or be a certain way for someone else, and it's not truly authentic. I think that when that happens, we become disconnected from ourselves. And the more disconnected we are, the more we start to see the world in a very black and white, rigid view, right and wrong. And we'll kind of lose this compassion for ourselves, for others, for these experiences that we're doing. We're just constantly trying to fix everything and make it right. But what is right anyway? And so, I hope that if any of this is resonating with you, that you will have a moment in your life where you have a aha moment and maybe you are able to reclaim your truth. I had a specific moment that was a big turning point for me. For the first 43 years of my life, I felt like I could never speak my truth to my father because I would be punished or made to feel very small and insignificant. And so I would compromise my own truth and what I felt was right to not go against him. Like that allegiance to him was extremely strong. But there was this pivotal moment where I saw the way he was not being loving in his marriage to my mother. And he was really being downright wrong in his behaviors, but he could never really admit that or self-correct. And so up until that point, I never felt strong enough to be able to confront him or speak my truth. But there was this moment where my father and I were having a heated discussion about what I was seeing in his relationship with my mother. And I told him that I saw her as an abused woman and that he was not living in alignment with what he would say, how he wanted to live his life. And when I confronted him on this, he became very angry and agitated, which was deeply unsettling in me. But I also at the same time felt this deep alignment with my truth. You don't treat someone the way you would not want to be treated. And he was breaking this golden rule. And in that moment, I realized that the magnitude of the burden that I had been carrying for 43 years to always agree with him and make him be seen as right Like I could no longer do that when I saw it was coming at the expense of someone else who was being broken down. And that was the moment that I truly began my journey of healing my daughter wound. And I don't share these things to put my father specifically or my mother in a bad light. I am just sharing a story, my story of what I experienced and how I grew through those challenges and how I was able to reframe and empower myself to not stay in a place of stuckness, victimhood. I was able to move beyond that. And that's why I share these things, because your situation may not look exactly like mine, but I'm hoping that my examples will trigger something in your mind of how you can apply it to your life. So, in breaking free, I think there's some practical steps, for someone who's ready to break free from these patterns and heal their own daughter wound. I think there are some concrete steps you can take. And really, it's one big one. I want you to just notice where you're out of alignment. Begin to observe where you say and do things to appease a certain individual, even when you know inside that it doesn't feel right. That little feeling in your gut, that's your intuition, and we often dismiss it. But really ask yourself where you are going along with things that just do not sit well with you, right? And then beyond the specific actions, I think there is a fundamental mindset shift for healing the daughter wound and moving towards an authentic self-expression of your own being, and that is to formulate your own truths and your own way of seeing the world. It's about owning how you want to navigate your life once and for all. I have too many women, too many clients that I come into contact with that are really living a life in their 50s, 60s that is formed and shaped by the power of their relationship with their parents, and they are really being inauthentic with themselves. So I want you to make a conscious choice. This is how I want to live my life. This is the kind of person I want to show up being. And once you establish that close relationship with yourself, you'll begin to have those gut intuitions when you're not living in alignment with it. And then the only choice is to make resolution with that. Am I going to live a lie, or am I going to live my truth, even if it creates some difficult situations with others, right? Because you can't control their experience. That's their work to do, right? The only thing you have truly are your own morals, your truth, your foundational sense of right and wrong. And I think we need to reconnect with that and know what that is. And that doesn't mean we're trying to push that on people around us. It just means that we know it, we feel it, we live it, and we can have compassion for those who don't live the same way that we do. And I think what waits for you is this freedom and peace, right? The biggest benefit of embarking on this journey of healing your own daughter wound and releasing the need for this external approval is really reconnecting with who you are. At multiple pivotal points in a woman's life, I think we need to shed the layers of things that we've taken on through our childhood and young adulthood years. And we need to make a conscious choice about who we believe we are, what we're proud of, what areas we know that we want to work on, and then most importantly, love who we are 100% of the time. I can't even express what this feels like in my own mind and body to love myself for who I am, my whole being, the good and the bad of all of me, to love the woman who overcame burdens and weights that were never her own, to reconnect with who she truly believes she is, and to feel in alignment with my spiritual source, knowing that I'm on the path that I'm meant to be. I do not care what other people think. I do not care what they judge or conclude about my life or my family. I am 100% in alignment with who I am and how I'm choosing to live my life. And even though all of life's challenges and difficulties are there, it's like I answer to a higher power that's beyond even my own knowing, and it feels amazing and empowering. It offers such freedom and peace. And I often talk about this innate feeling of peace I have flowing through my body on a daily basis. And I'm telling you, I hold that precious. And my mission is to help others cultivate that feeling within themselves. And it is available to you. So listen back to this again if you need to, and really take in the key steps and concepts that I'm laying out for you here. And also take a moment to reflect on your own upbringing, your own life, where you are now, where you're living out of alignment, and really put that into perspective and ask yourself those hard but honest questions that really hold the answers for you. All right, everyone. I hope this video gave you some things to think about on a deeper level and actionable steps that you can take to grow in new ways. Please remember to click the subscribe and activate the notification bell so you can be the first to know when I have a new video released. And if you want a deeper dive into understanding ingrained patterns like what I'm talking about and rewriting your narrative and owning who you are and thriving, please check out my new book, Why Am I Like This? You can find it on Amazon. All right, everyone, I'll see you next time.